"Have you ever seen this stuff before?" David asked. He was staring at his laptop with a mixture of confusion and sickness. At any moment, his agape maw might expel the contents of his stomach. Thankfully, he kept his recent lunch, an everything bagel with cream cheese and a handful of cheese crackers, in its rightful place. "What stuff?" Arthur spat out from the side of his mouth. Arthur, who goes mainly by Art or Arturo when he's having a little too much sauce, was currently in mid-chew. He decided to treat himself with a mixture of Fruity Pebbles and Trix cereal. Two great tastes, taste great together. Thank you, General Mills and Commander Kellogg. Taking a pause to when his mouth would be acceptably empty, he again asked what his friend was talking about. Dave was still transfixed by what he was seeing. The browser was similar to YouTube, but even a child could see that at first glance there was something quite off. There was a video player in the upper left as the Google-owned video sharing service, and there were what appeared to be recommended videos on the right-hand side. But that is where the sidewalk ended, as Shel Silverstein said. As Art wiped his mouth clean of milk and a rogue Fruity Pebble, he moved forward to peer over his buddy's shoulder. In the upper left, displayed in one bold letter and one bold number, was S9. "What the heck does S9 mean?" he asked Dave. Dave took a moment. He was seemingly frozen in the show he was watching. Right before the poor animal was trotting toward the women lying down in the middle of the sand-filled arena, Dave slammed the laptop shut. Sorry man," he said, rubbing his right temple with his right hand and using his left to steady himself on the table while standing. Dave was so caught up in the sight he was watching, he could not consider how awful it would look to someone possibly seeing it for the first time. It's called Station 9. That's what the S9 stands for. Have you really never heard of this channel?" Something in the way he said that made Art push his chin back into his neck and furrow his brow a bit, like he was a square or something for not knowing about Station 9. Sorry man, no, I have never heard of this weird off-brand YouTube site where women, probably sex-trafficked women, get involved with donkeys." Art turned his attention back to his cereal, which was dangerously close to hitting catastrophic SOG levels. Dave caught his eye before Art turned all the way around. He put his hands out toward him, all 10 fingers spread apart, palms facing Art. The universal sign for "hold on a sec, let me explain." There could also be a little bit of "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you" in there. Guess I should have approached this a bit differently, and this is the absolute weirdest thing I've ever seen on there, so please forgive me. I've seen a lot of stuff on Station 9, but this was... Well, you can see I turned it off. I was not ready for that. Art sat down. So, let's start from the beginning, man. First off, we've known each other since sophomore year in college, and we've been roommates for like 2 years now. How have you never mentioned this before? What even is this? Some dark web thing? Dave snorted, trying unsuccessfully to stifle that awful noise coming from his nose, before he sat down at the cheap dining room table they both pitched in to buy at Target. You've seriously never heard of Station 9? Art looked at him with the blankest of expressions. Arthur and David, or Art and Dave, were roommates in their sophomore year at Central Michigan University. Fire up chips. Art had an awful experience with roommates in his freshman year. 4 young men squashed into a dorm that was maybe 250 square feet if you were lucky. He was in the Towers, which was where the majority of freshmen were assigned at that particular college. The setup had a main room, a bathroom of course, and the bedroom which had 2 sets of bunks. His roommates were all loud and they all clicked together. 3 of them did. Art was the odd one out. It wasn't contentious per se, but Art hated the late-night partying and loud music. Seemed like he was the only one. David was one of the lucky few that was assigned to the Wolt dorms, on the opposite end of campus. For whatever reason, this was historically more chill than the towers. He had a great first year and thrived while his future friend and roomie was struggling to keep up with his studies. Second collegiate year and thankfully was granted entrance. On move-in day, he met Art and 2 other guys that were of like mind. They gelled right away, bonding over their shared major in psychology. The layout of Wolt was much different than the towers. This dorm had 2 bedrooms, 2 bunks in each with a shared day room, and a separate bathroom joining that day room. He and Dave shared one room with the other fellas taking the second bedroom. Art and Dave went through college together, helping with their shared majors and eventually graduating with respectable honors. They decided to get an apartment together after school while they both worked part-time jobs. 2 years later and they were still grinding. Art was pursuing a career in probation as Dave was finishing up his master's degree. "No, I've never heard of Station 9, Art said. "I'm not into the dark web stuff. It's too risky." Dave chuckled. "It's not really like that, man. You don't have to download a Tor browser or anything like that. It's a newer type of site that is rivaling YouTube. There's a ton of content on it, but just a bit stranger. Every week there's a featured show that just gets weirder. It comes out every Thursday. Usually it's just a video that has some shock value to it, like a weird talking doll or a lost media cartoon. Some of it is eerie, but it's gained steam online in the weird part of the web. I've looked it up and people are trying to get on Station 9 like it's an accomplishment." Art was processing this with one eyebrow raised, the people's eyebrow. "So, you've been watching donkey shows since we've known each other, or?" Dave pinched his nose with his right thumb and index finger, smiling. "No man, haha no. This was a huge leap for Station 9. Last week's video was from some unknown Latin American country. Dashcam footage that appears to show some woman in a white dress blocking the road. When they get closer, she aggressively walks toward the car. The guys inside, speaking some language I can't understand, panic and start reversing. The last frame shows her face, which is just horrifying. If you go to the link to the account that posted that video, you see how many subscribers they accumulated overnight. It's nuts, man. Strange, I've never heard of this. And I'm online just as much as anyone, you know that, Art said. Dave gave him a look that said, "Yeah, this site's wild, weird, you never saw it." Station 9 was steamrolling after the last video. Weeks later and the world kept moving. Art was close to starting the Federal Academy for Entry Probation Officers. Dave was only 1 semester from nailing his master's in psychology. A degree of this kind really only matters if you want to teach at a high school level, possibly community college. Anything above that and you'd need to go full doctorate. Dave never wanted to go that far into it. He just loved the science of psych. "Dude, did you see what was on Station 9 this week?" Again, Dave interrupted Art's cereal routine as he was getting ready to go out for a morning run. Art was getting ready to take the entrance physical exam for the academy. Art put his spoon down into the almost empty bowl of Cocoa Pebbles. "What are you talking about?" "Station 9, man, we talked about this weeks ago, the donkey thing, remember?" The space above Art's eyes was spinning like it was browsing through their old conversations. "Ah, yes, the weird cult site that you're into, I already forgot about that. Too busy trying to, be productive and make something of myself and my future." Art threw his plastic bowl into the sink. He'll make sure to do the dishes later, not like his roommate ever does. Dave huffed and raised one corner of his mouth. Okay, ouch, but this one was wild. He restarted the video. And you know I'm working too, man, I just can't get enough of this site. Dave shifted in his seat, making eye contact with his buddy. He didn't say anything. He just sat there looking at Art. For a long time. Too long. Finally, Art couldn't take it anymore. Okay, you freaking weirdo, what? They both laughed. Somewhat nervously and somewhat genuinely. It was an odd moment. You gotta see this, man, sorry, but you just do. This last vid was the weirdest, and the guy that posted it got almost 50,000 subs in less than 24 hours. That's unheard of. Art was annoyed but intrigued. He shuffled over to the computer, eyeing the sink that was slowly mounting a good size of dirty dishes. Art and Dave both stared at the blank video player for a few seconds before Dave clicked replay. The scene was a white room. White walls, a white table in the middle of the room, and a door with a black doorknob. What the heck? Dave raised his left hand to stop Art from speaking. After about 15 seconds, the door opens. A little person walks in, wearing what can only be described as one of those outfits that the goons wear in A Clockwork Orange. He even had the stupid top hat on. They also had on one of those super cheap Halloween masks over their eyes. It's not a mask, but more of a, well, it's hard to explain. Picture Robin from Batman and Robin, or Green Lantern, the mask they wear over just their eyes. This person thing comes sauntering in. Once he shuts the door, a whimpering can be heard. Dave again starts to raise his hand, anticipating another confused comment from Art. Art is silent. As the little clockwork walks toward the camera, the seemingly captive person starts to become more frantic. Once the main character disappears behind the camera, a symphony of thwacks, thumps, and wet plops can be heard. Sounds of struggling crescendo and then abruptly stop. The camera jostles slightly as if someone is behind it trying to turn it off. A bit of red starts to drip down the middle of the frame before the video cuts. Dave turns to look behind his shoulder at Art. See that stuff? Holy moly, that is wild, isn't it? He sees that Art can't find the words to mark this occasion. What's a matter, future probation officer? Cat got your tongue. You're gonna probably be dealing with this weird stuff in the real world. At least this is probably fake, man, that is crazy, right? Art gives a half-hearted nod as Dave goes back to watch again. 50,000 subs in only a day, Art asks. Dave nods his head, not taking his eyes off of the camera. Yep, I told you, man. This channel is in a league of its own. Art leaves for the intensive 16-week probation parole academy in a week's time. He just received the email detailing where and what he will need. Georgia, here we come. He unlocks his phone and presses the message icon. Hey man, what do you want for dinner? Mexican? Sounds good. Plaza Mexico? Yeah, that sounds cool. Can you order? I'll pick up. No prob. 3 soft tacos, beef extra cilantro? Dave. You got it, TX man. Okay, just ordered. Ready for pickup in 10. Sounds good. Dave enters their shared apartment. It's dark. Not one light on. Strange. He flips the light on in the hallway. Hello? Art, are you here? I got tacos. Silence. Okay, Art, keep your cool. You can hear him fumbling for his stupid keys right now outside the door. Let him get inside. Don't want the camera in the hallway catching anything unpleasant. Dave puts the tacos down on the table so he can take his coat off. Shoot, man, where the heck did he go? He knew it was taco time. Last words from David S. Smith. Arthur looks down at his gloved hands. A beautiful shade of red drapes his vision as he charges. An undetermined amount of time later and his eyes clear. No more red, just clear. A clear picture of David, face down, not responsive. Art looks at the cutting tools he's laid out in his bedroom. A few hours later, and some heavy cleanup work done, Art takes a seat in his recliner. On the table to his left is a nice bowl of buttered popcorn and a tall glass of chocolate milk. He engages the footrest, yes, so comfy. A faint ding signals that his video is uploaded, quicker than expected. Nice. He sits down at his computer and hits a few buttons and returns to his seat. Another hour has passed and he turns the football game off, switching to Station 9. He casts the sight to his TV. A nice big bowl of fruity pebbles and tricks awaits. Milk so cold it's almost freezing. Okay, let's see if I finally get featured on Station 9.